The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Hello and welcome to another beautiful sunny Monday morning. And we are reaching you live from the ACNNTV studio here at the Federal Capital Territory. This is Newspaper Headlines, a program where we read out the stories on the front pages of some select national newspapers. I am Phoebe Agimehu. All right, let's see what the newspapers have to say this morning. And I'll be starting with this day newspaper. The leading story now, CBN assesses funding request for Nigerian-made COVID-19 vaccines. And the key cases, 248 new cases bring tally to 4,399, with 778 discharged at 143 dead. Federal government increases testing laboratories to 23. Kakovit pledges more support for PPE producers. Lagos, FCT, Borno, Kano discharge 82 more patients. Rivers demolishes 2 hotels for flaunting restriction order. And NJC approves online sitting of courts nationwide. Alright, the story begins on the front page and continues on page 9. Below that story, federal government to set a panel on implementation of Oronsaye reports. There will be no job losses, says Ngige. The story begins on the front page and continues page. You have this picture tagged monitoring lockdown. From left, Secretary to the Delta State Government, Mr. Chiedu Ebie, and Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, monitoring the ban on interstate travel to curb the spread of COVID-19 at Asaba Onitsha Head Bridge in Asaba weekend. All right, on page 8, Jonathan explains low-key participation in politics. Let's move on to the stories above the masthead now. On page 9, Emefiele allays foreign investors' fears over funds repatriation. And lastly, from this day newspaper on page 5, global stock markets lose $18 trillion to pandemic, says reports. Up next is the Guardian newspaper. And the story is just below the masthead now. 17 federal government airports not viable, may shut down over losses. Facilities incur 26.1 billion naira deficit in 3 years. How to overcome challenge by stakeholders. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 6. All right, on page 4, Wike demolishes hotels over alleged violation of lockdown order. Buhari's leadership style, stifling development, PDP alleges, page 3. Kano accuses northern governors of politicking with COVID-19, almajiri, page 5. And on page 8, woman burnt to death in Ogun tanker explosion. You have this picture now of a cross-section of the 160 Nigerian returnees from the United States on their arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja just yesterday. Below the picture now, fresh lockdown may hurt economy. Government in dilemma over rising COVID-19 cases. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 6. And the last story on the Guardian newspaper is that of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria. You have 4,151 confirmed cases, 128 deaths, and 745 discharged. That's all from the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now. Telegraph newspaper, and I'll start with the story just above the masthead. 10 banks made to 4.47 billion naira in fees, commission in first quarter. Okay, slash in ATM. Other charges take toll in lenders' earnings. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 7. On that same page, Article 6, liberalization of downstream oil sector. Below the masthead now, page 26, and this is coming from Jonathan. Why I'm staying away from partisan politics. Get the new Telegraph to find out why. And on page 3, Emefiele to investors. Your investment is secured in Nigeria. All right. On page 27, Wike supervises demolition of 2 hotels for flaunting lockdown directive. And on page 6, ex-NAS finance director loses 12 Abuja, Lagos houses to federal government. The leading story now, manufacturers seek lifeline to remain in business. Say more firms will go under. Job losses inevitable. MBS. Nigerians spent 22.8 trillion naira on food in 2019. You can find the details on page 3. And then you have this picture tagged Dangote Smith donates 25 patrol cars to Ogun. Alright, and that's what the picture is revealing. The details is on page 28. COVID-19 global cases now, 4,153,296. Global recovery, 1,467,062. Global deaths, 282,745. The bottom strip story now, just before we go on break. SMLF. Terrorist attacks loom in southern Nigeria. Mass movements of youth at night. Suspicious. Page 6. And lastly on page 26. Sticking to regular bedtime can boost heart health. Yet to come, we have the Monday Leadership, Nigerian Tribune, and the Business Day newspapers. But that's in a moment. Please stay on with us.
What happens when you drink water? Most of us already know and agree that there are numerous benefits from drinking water on an empty stomach in the early morning. The health benefits of drinking water in the morning are amazing. Water has magical properties when it comes to your health. Drinking of water makes you more fresh and healthy. Water improves your metabolism. It helps you lose weight. It keeps your heart born at bay. Water improves skin's appearance. It makes your hair look better. It stops urinary tract infections. And it helps improve and clean the immune system. Follow this method to feel energized throughout the day. Drink 4 glasses of water immediately after waking, before brushing your teeth, and on an empty stomach. If you find it difficult to start with 4 glasses, start with 1 and gradually increase the amount. Do not eat anything for the next 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you may eat and drink as normal. Do not eat or drink anything for 2 hours after breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the newspaper headlines live from the ACNN studios in Abuja. For more on our catch-up programs, please visit our social media platforms, all showing on the screen. And do well to download the VM Africa app, or Prime TV, or We TV Africa on any app store to watch us on the go. ACNN is now available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV and Android TV. Moving on with the Blueprint newspaper now, the leading story is on COVID-19. It says despite rising cases, Nigerians say no going back to lockdown. Cases now 4,151, 745 discharged and 128 deaths. Another lockdown will be counterproductive. That's coming from Keyamo. We need local and realistic measures, NYCN. Additional testing centers cost increased number of cases. No alternative to stay at home for now, others insist. And level of compliance worries the federal government and the Lagos state government. You see the details on page 6. Alright, you have this picture of some of the 160 Nigerian returnees from the United States of America on their arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on Sunday. The bottom strip stories now. Rights violations. We have received 104 complaints from 27 states. That's coming from NHRC, page 7. Headers attack Benue community, kill 2 women and injure 5, page 18. Serap to federal government. Release rules on school home feeding program, page 7. Nigerians spent over 22 trillion naira on food in 2019, NBS, page 5. And on that same page, 160 stranded Nigerians arrive Abuja, taken to isolation centers. Alright, let's check the stories just above the leading story now. IPPIS under threat of sabotage, federal government explains delay in military salaries. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 6. While on page 5, 47 Kano health workers infected with COVID-19. And lastly, on page 7, liberalize downstream, don't fix oil prices. Atiku urges federal government. And that's all from the Blueprint newspaper. Up next is leadership. And I'll start with the story just below the masthead. Despite fall in oil prices, investments are secured. That's coming from CBN. Banks backdate collection of 50 naira charges on savings accounts to February. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 8. While on page 23, we have paid armed forces April salaries. That's coming from the federal government. The leading story now, experts raise concerns as COVID-19 threatens aviation future. The International Air Transport Association seeks bailout for sector. Ayade urges President Muhammadu Buhari to lift ban on domestic flights. 160 Nigerians evacuated from US arrive in Abuja. Lagos, Kano, Borno discharge 37 patients, while Edo tests 104,186 persons for coronavirus. Page 4. Alright, this picture from left, Enugu State Governor, former Governor of Old Anambra State, Jim Wombodo, and wife, cutting Wombodo's 80th birthday cake in Enugu South Local Government area yesterday. Beside that, COVID-19 update as at May 10th, 2020. Confirmed cases, 4,399. Discharged, 778. A number of deaths, 143. NCDC. Right, Bauchi Governor confirms 150 deaths in Azari, declares total lockdown of 3 local governments. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 7. On page 22, maritime workers strengthen strike over detention of members in Rivers. The bottom strip stories now on page 22. We have lockdown not slowing anti-corruption fight. That's coming from ICPC EFCC. On 15, IFC to fund MSME in poor countries with $3.2 billion. On page 23, 8 killed, houses destroyed as Taraba crisis escalates. And lastly, on page 22, Kano ex-district head Yusuf Bayero, Sokoto commissioner, die. Up next is the Nigerian Tribune. And I'll start with the story just above the masthead. Nigerians spent over 2 trillion naira buying food in 2019. That's coming from MBS. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 26. On page 23, published details of suppliers, states, budget for home feeding program, SERAP, tells federal government. Below the masthead now, over 120 people died in Azari in 30 days, says Bauchi governor, locks down 3 local government areas. Page 27. Police arrest 4 for allegedly killing 16-year-old maid in Lagos. Page 8. NCDC Kano partner train 300 workers on COVID-19. Page 30. And the leading story now, Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum to Federal Government. Declare invasion of South, Middle Belt by almajiris illegal. Page 2. You have these pictures of Wike demolishes 2 hotels in Rivers and Lagos seizes of hotel, nightclub for violating lockdown order. Pages 29 and 27. The bottom strip stories are on pages 25, 28 and 3. Another 160 Nigerians evacuated from US. COVID-19. Positive naval officer absconds from isolation center in Delta. And parents express fears over schooling amid COVID-19 pandemic. That's all from the Nigerian Tribune. Up next is Business Day. And the leading story now states coronavirus fight showcases the good, the bad and the ugly. See story on page 7. And then you have the same picture as earlier seen of the presentation of 25 police patrol cars donated by Dangote Cement PLC to Ogun State Security Trust Fund in Lagos. Alright. Despite markdown, Nigeria's new non-oil revenue projections seen over optimistic experts profile alternative ways of boosting revenue. The story begins on the front page and continues on page 7. And the last story is the inside story on page 6. Banks' income from T-bills falls to 5-year low as COVID-19 shakes industry. And that's all from the Business Day newspaper. Thank you for staying tuned with me through the program today. And just to remind you that the Lion of the tribe of Judah has prevailed. Yes, indeed. The next edition will be back before you know it. Until then, show some love. And bye for now.